Welcome to another edition of Baseball and Beyond. Today we are joined by Cardinal Hall of Famer, and in my opinion should be in the National Baseball Hall of Fame, Jim Edmonds. Hello, Jim.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Look, you're going to text during the interview. You're such a multitasker. You're not going to listen to the questions.
I am listening all around, but my wife sometimes gets first billing.
Okay, well, let's see what she's up to. What's going on with her?
She's trying to park tonight, so we're just making sure that she gets into the game.
Now, she is becoming quite famous as well. I mean, you used to run this town, but I got to say, Meghan is becoming quite the celebrity as well in town, maybe across America.
Yeah, it's amazing what TV can do for you, and a little show, but seems to be one of those TV shows that the whole world watches. And actually, somebody paid for her nails to get done today, and just out of straight curiosity, I'm sure, and very nice. But yeah, she's having fun with it. I don't know how much longer she's going to be able to handle it because of we were expecting a child, and we were trying to really make St. Louis our center location for the future, and try not to travel too much anymore.
And you've become a star of the show, too. I guess you probably did not realize how big a star you'd become from this. I mean, now you're a huge celebrity.
Yeah, I get a lot of hate mail because everyone thinks that I'm as mean as I look on TV, but what people don't see is the fact that we're filming for 4 or 5 hours and I'm at the end of my day, or I've just flown across country to meet with her and just to be there for that. And so I get a little irritated by reality TV at times, but it's just not my thing. So we have fun with it, we enjoy it, and sometimes the editors having fun with it too, and they try to make a little controversy.
Well, we would never do that in TV. I've never edited anything to make to make it look bad, but you just keep having kids, that'll make her have to come back.
Yeah, well, that's, I think, the one reason why I don't know if we can keep coming back, because kids are obviously a big part of our lives, and, taking up more and more time of our day and year, each and every year it passes.
I really thought we'd start with baseball. I had no idea that's the way this would go, but you were texting Meghan. But I did start at the beginning of this about the Hall of Fame, and I know you might downplay it, but I am curious. I don't think I've even asked you about it, about just what it was like this winter when you found out that not only didn't you not even get in, which I think maybe 5 years from now you may have been able to, but the fact that you won't even be on the ballot. Had that sunk in that that's over, and did that kind of break your heart thinking about that?
Yeah, there was a lot of emotion. I think that I didn't expect to get in right away. I expected a tough voting class with the group of guys that are still on the list. I was disappointed and a little hurt that got 2% of the vote. I thought that I had a pretty good career. Maybe not Hall of Fame worthy, but definitely I would think that hopefully more people would have thought of me than what happened. But the good news is I don't have to think about it anymore. So my dad said the same thing. He was like, well, at least you don't have to be bothered every year at this time about it. And we'll move on. And it was something that was really cool and would be amazing, but it's not going to happen. And we move forward with our lives.
There was guys in there. Ozzie got in there basically on his defense. He did have his offense towards the end of his career. But, I mean, when you put yourself on the map, I think obviously everyone thinks of the catch in Kansas City as an Angels player. And I know you always say, I was just doing my job. But when you think of that play now, that it is pretty iconic. I mean, people, when they talk about you, you'll still see that play compared to plays today. Does that kind of give you a little thing about, okay, I like that play. That was because we obviously saw how excited you were after it happened. But tell me a little bit about what it means now when you think about what I call iconic a play that is.
Well, it was just something that happened. Happened to be in the right place at the right time, and you can see that it happens a lot each and every day. But it's just one of those things that's pretty cool that you are remembered for something. I mean, you could play 17 years and not do anything spectacular or special, and kind of just go away. And I think that at least for me, that I'll be remembered for that. And there's a few other plays in this city that people will remember locally. But I think other than that, it's a really neat thing. I'm glad that my kids can see it, especially the younger ones. But I really don't give it too much thought anymore. But it is gratifying to know that there is some kind of baseball history with your name behind it.
I think I did say this one time, though. It has to be cool for you when you walk into this ballpark and you see the Game 6 catch, or you see the Game 6 home run, Game 7 catch in 2004. And I think I remember you saying, I think it'll be more for my kids. But when you see those things now, do you ever really get a chance just to go, man, that was pretty cool?
Well, the thing that for me now is, you're right, it is pretty cool that, you can be remembered. And that's the thing. I think if anybody that wants to play in a sport and leave kind of a legacy or any kind of something left behind. I mean, there's no better way to do that and have them show you on the scoreboard from time to time, and especially for my family and my kids. But I've seen it so much now, I've almost become a fan. It's like I don't really even remember it happening. I've seen it. It's almost like now I'm watching highlights of someone else. But it's kind of surreal. It is definitely fun to be a part of, and those years that we had here will never be forgotten.
I did want to go back to the defense early in your career. It seemed like Ken Griffey Jr. got all the pub, and was there a rivalry at all for you? I know I've heard stories about him having a rivalry with you, and did you guys ever get a chance to talk about that now that he's out of the game? The fact that, he got all the pub, and then some nights you would be on SportsCenter, and someone has said he may have called Dan Patrick and said, hey, what's with I had a better play last night.
Yeah, no, I don't really get into that too much, and it doesn't bother me. Everyone has their own way of living their life, and I just went out there and did the best I could and played the game, and really didn't think about it. I obviously watched SportsCenter, and I saw times where I thought made a good play, never made it, home runs never made it, so that happens. But I didn't really think much of it. I think it's just part of the luck of the draw. And the one thing I do remember is early in my career, I think that they used to give Gold Gloves to right, center, and left, and then they quickly switched it to just a bunch of outfielders. So that helped a little bit. It hurt me a couple years early on. So either way you look at it, I benefited from just going out there and playing the best of my abilities, and maybe a little reckless at times, but it was a lot of fun.
Earlier in your career, this is a great YouTube clip. You and the Angels get in a pretty good brawl with the A's. And this is when you're an Angel, and Tony is obviously with the A's. Mark McGwire's with the A's. I don't know if you remember this, but you're in the middle of this. You see Mark, you see Tony going crazy. Tell me a little bit about that night and that brawl, because us Cardinal fans just don't remember it. And young in your career, but to see that's a pretty big group of great players and crazy names.
Yeah, that was a day I remember. Something happened, and I do remember that I think Tim Salmon got hit, or somebody got hit, and words were exchanged. And Sean Bosky was a pitcher on our team, rushed the mound against Jim Corsi. And he rushed the mound from our dugout. And he went out in there and tackled, and we kind of got into a fight. And I do remember Big Mark was big, and he kind of set the tone for everybody getting out of the way. But they had a fiery team, and we had a young team that was scrappy and pretty nasty. We got into a few fights when I was young, and it was just one of those moments. It's funny to look back and see all those guys, and before Tony and everyone else had gray hair, and
Tony still doesn't.
Tony still doesn't, but it's just things that happen on the field. It's kind of like the first day I was in the Reds uniform, we got in a big fight against the Cardinals, and I was kind of in no man's land. So it's just one of those things. But some flare-ups had definitely happened back in the 90s a lot more than they do now.
I want to ask about that fight, because the more I've heard about the Reds fight, the more I realize Scott Rowland really was mad. I thought he was not. I thought he was trying to be peacemaker, but he actually was really mad at Chris Carpenter that day. I found out later. Just a little bit about that day on your perspective. You said you hadn't been there, but to see Chris Carpenter and Scott Rowland go at it, to me, I thought, okay, he's trying to peace me, but he wasn't.
I think Scott's the kind of a personality that he's going to stick up for whoever he's supposed to stick up for, and regardless of friends, if he thinks you're in the wrong, he's going to step in front of you and tell you about it. I don't know what was going on between them, but that was my very first day in a Reds uniform, and I just kind of got in the middle of it trying to break it up, and I remember Dave Duncan going to the ground, and all I could think of is somebody's going to step on him and fall on him, he's going to get hurt. So I remember just kind of hovering over him, trying to protect him, and at that point, not a whole lot of loyalty to the Reds, and a whole lot of loyalty still to the Cardinals. And no matter what happened, I was there to make sure that I could do the best I could to protect whoever looked like they were in trouble.
Tell me about how your relationship with Tony evolved, because you get here in 2000, and I'm not sure how it was then, but you have a great season. I know you've said father figure, but early on, he can grate on people. I'm assuming, I don't know if that's how it started with you, but how did it start with you?
He was great. He called me in the very first day and said, we know about you, we've done our homework, we know what you can do, and just go out and do it. And, as time progressed, we had a lot of older guys in 2000, and 2001 came, 2002, and he said, okay, you're the older guy, and you're the guy that everybody's watching. And you need to lead by example, and you need to be the one running on the field when we're losing or winning, and you need to be running out the balls when you're struggling or you're hot. So it's kind of something I tried to do the best I could and lead from his example, and I love the way he taught me the game and taught me how to grow up and gave me a lot of responsibility, and I loved it.
You get a good career going here. '04 is one year that I think everyone will remember how great that team was. And I know you've thought that the '03 team may have been better and maybe the '02 team. But '04, I've heard you say that you just feel like something weird may have happened in Boston. Tell me a little bit about how angry it makes you guys that your '04 team is so good, and you got to fly to Boston overnight, and you got to work out at 6 in the evening, and it's raining, and then you have to play game one, and maybe that. Not destiny for them, but who knows what it was.
Yeah, no excuses. I mean, they beat us and they deserve to win, but it was a weird situation. I mean, we traveled late at night. We had to go through a lot to get there. Hotels were booked up because their traveling secretary didn't think that they were going to get into the World Series, and so we had a lot against us. And like I said, no excuses, but we didn't play well, and they played a little bit better. And Game 1 was a huge game, and there was a point in the middle of the game where we lost control of it, and we lost control of the series after that.
The catches in Cincinnati, everyone talks about how great they were, but I love the story you talk about the night Izzy's on the mound, because you went crazy after that one, and everyone thought, oh, he's so excited he made his third catch, but that actually wasn't what it was about.
Yeah, it was about me and Izzy having a beer, I think it was the night before, and he had said, I think he saw a highlight. Oh, actually, we were sitting there watching the highlight from that night, and when I robbed a home run, and he said, how come you never do that for me? And kind of became just like a silly little thing. I said, well, no one ever hits home runs off of you. And the very next night, I think it was one of the first couple pitches of the inning, and Jason LaRue hit a ball over the fence, and I went and caught it. But I was kind of laughing at the fact that I can't believe we were literally just talking about this, and it happened within 12 hours or 24 hours. So crazy things happened in this game, and that was one of the craziest things that's ever happened to me.
I was going to say, and that's what I think about with you was you were here a really good portion of time. Now in these days, we don't know how many guys are going to stay here 7-8 years. I mean, memories like that, do you have any other that just kind of stick out that maybe we haven't heard a story about? I love that story that you and Izzy are talking one night in Cincinnati at a bar, and then the next night it happens. I mean, I know it's the relationships and stuff like that, but are there any others that kind of come to mind about just being a teammate of these guys and the things that happen off the field that maybe go back to the on-the-field stuff?
You know what? Not really in that aspect. I think there's a lot of times when, guys can go out there on the field and talk about certain ways to approach the game. Or I remember in the 2006 World Series, Fernando Rodney was pitching, and he had a really good changeup. And we had talked to someone that was going up to the plate. I believe it was Preston Wilson, and I said to him, unless his changeup is chest high, do not swing at it. And Preston went up there and got one of the biggest key hits for us in a game, and just things like that. I mean, it's so great when you work as a team and you go through so much adversity and you go through the grind. Talking about just going out there every day and trying to compete, and when things go right, it's just so much more special. It's crazy how people put their mind to it and listen and work together. That crazy stuff goes on.
We have a couple more minutes with you. I appreciate your time. I started looking up how many times Carlos Zambrano had hit you, and I think it was 15. I'm just kidding. I think it was 6 or 5 or whatever. But Cubs Cardinals back then was great, but what was going on with him, and why did he just not like Jim Edmonds? It seemed like this was personal with the big guy.
Well, I think that, Albert did a lot of damage against him, and Scott did a lot of damage against him. So I kind of fell in between, and I hit a few home runs off of him too. So I think that one day he threw at me just because, he'd always throw cutters inside, and sometimes they'd nick you or they'd hit you. And he threw me a cutter that hit me in the leg. And the next time I went up, I hit a ball out of the stadium against him. And then the next time, I think Albert hit a home run off him, and then I was behind Albert. So, he's just kept throwing. So, he was one of those guys that you never knew. Even when I played for the Cubs, the guys on the team didn't know what he was going to do and didn't know how he was going to act. But I'll tell you what, when I played for the Cubs, he couldn't have been nicer and more respectful. He was a really big kid. He really never looked at this game for anything more than just being fun. And sometimes I think the maturity level of guys like that just don't really get it at times, and then they have to apologize after. But you know what? He apologized to me. He had nothing but fun playing the game, and he was a little bit of a intense competitor, and sometimes that boils over.
Well, those are weird situations too, right? I know the Mike Matheny, Julian Tavares story where you got to go play with a guy that may have been throwing at you. I mean, that has to be weird to be part of that, but it seems like you did it very well. Do you have any other ones? The Matheny Tavares ones. Do you have any other guys that had to happen?
No, not really. I really didn't. There's obviously guys that you just dislike playing against, but then you end up playing with them and you realize that they are, they are super nice guys and just like you. And it's funny, some guys you're scared of, some guys you're not, and they end up being the reverse order. And everyone's out there just trying to do their job, and intensity happens because of the heat of the battle, and sometimes things turn out pretty ugly on the field, and sometimes they end up working out. So I found over the years that when you end up being on the same team with a lot of guys, you end up getting along with them, and everything's just fine.
You get to keep any memorabilia, and do you have a favorite piece or anything that you've collected in your day, or is that kind of not what you do?
No, I really don't have a lot. I kept a few things. I didn't really collect, and I didn't really I collected a lot of my stuff, or I kept a lot of my stuff, so I have a lot of it at home, but not, other than the Gold Gloves, I think not a lot of stuff on display. I have a few pictures that were really special to me, but other than that, I've really tried to get away from the game and really focus in on my family, and I think that they pretty much are the subject matter in our home now.
Yeah, where are the Gold Gloves?
They're in my office. They're just sitting in my office by my desk, and then other than that, most of the time you're going to see pictures of the kids and the family and, stuff like that, just like ordinary office.
And you're a St. Louisan, it seems like. I mean, I know you spent a lot of time in California, but I think you're a full-fledged St. Louisan, right? Are we kind of close to saying that? I mean, you're bringing, like you said, the wife's coming back, we're going to have kids here, and what's that been like for you to you're a California guy, but people love you here, and you seem to love this sort of Midwest feel?
Well, I like it. I like both, and I've spent a lot of time in Orange County, and this just because of the situation that's kind of developed in my life. This is where we were for a long time, and it's kind of grab a hold of you and just keeps you close here. So I love being around the game here and with the Cardinals, and always try to do stuff with them. And it's kind of a little bit better situation for me professionally and in the long term to be here. And like I said, California is always going to be there. My wife works there. We're there a lot, but kind of trending back towards St. Louis full time.
So lastly, I just realized as we go back to the very beginning of the interview, we may have broke some news that no more Bravo after this season. I mean, I think that's newsworthy.
Well, I don't know if it's no more for sure, but it's something we're thinking about. And I
know you're thinking about it probably more.
Well, it's just one of those things. We're right now we're focusing on having a child and adding to our family. So I don't know how that's going to play into the mix for next year yet.
Well, Andy Cohen's calling right now.
Yeah.
You got to get that.
I've already texted him about it. We've had the conversation, so we'll see where it falls.
I really appreciate your time, Jim. Always fun to talk about the old times. You're a great player, Cardinal Hall of Famer, should be in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. And how you enjoying the TV? This is the last thing. You're a TV broadcaster, a thing that I really can't believe that you like doing, because I just figured you'd enjoy just sitting by the pool and not watching these games. But you seem, and I really enjoy the kind of the things you've brought new things to the telecast because of what you see from outfielders that we haven't heard from. We have pitchers on the broadcast.
Well, I think it's been fun. It's been something different. I like to do things that are different, and it's interesting. I get to kind of stay close to the game. I spend some time with these kids in spring training. It's a chance for me to watch them a little bit more, be involved, and try to bring a new perspective to this fan base that I think, we all watch the game on TV and think it's really easy, and want to let people know that there's a lot going on, and it's always not that easy out there as it looks on TV. So it's a challenge. It's something different, and I'm enjoying it right now.
You're doing a great job. We appreciate your time. Jim Edmonds on Baseball and Beyond, and no more Bravo. You heard it here on Baseball and Beyond. Thanks for listening. Subscribe on iTunes and follow me on Twitter @Brad Straubinger. See you next time.